Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to discuss different determinants of pharmacokinetics. So let us start with it. So let us first of all discuss about absorption, and the first determinant that is linked with this absorption is bioavailability. So let us discuss what is bioavailability or the definition of bioavailability. It is the fraction or the percentage of the administered drug that reaches the systemic circulation in a chemically unchanged form. The bioavailability of any drug after intravenous administration is 100%, and it is usually assumed to be close to 100 when it is given via intramuscular route or subcutaneous route, which is a parenteral route but it is not intravenous. The bioavailability of the drugs after oral administration, it ranges from 0 to 100%, and it is between 0 to 100% because it depends on the extent of absorption and the first pass effect. So in view of this, the bioavailability usually refers to as oral bioavailability. It means that it is basically a absolute term. Now, how can we determine this bioavailability? It is determined by measuring the area under plasma drug concentration versus time curve of oral or any other non-vascular route, and it is compared with the area under curve of the IV administration of the same drug. If the area under curve for both the curves are equal, then we will say that bioavailability is 100% or it is equal to 1. So as we have discussed in the previous slide, that bioavailability is basically a comparison between the area under curve of oral or extravascular route of administration to the area under curve of intravenous route of administration. So here it is the formula of bioavailability. We usually represents this bioavailability by a F sign, which is written here, and this relation explains the comparison between the AUC of oral route of administration and AUC of IV route of administration. Now there are two terms, beta prime and beta, which are written in this equation. What are these betas? Now recall to our previous lectures that we have explained that beta is basically a elimination rate constant. So here beta prime and beta are elimination rate constants for the oral and intravascular routes of administration, and F is the fraction of the administered dose that enters the systemic circulation. Let us now discuss about the usefulness of this parameter bioavailability. It is basically used to predict the efficacy of different routes of administration, or it can be used to determine the efficacy of different formulations of the same drug. The influence of the route of administration on drug bioavailability is generally uh, follows a order in which first of all there comes the parenteral route, followed by oral route, and then comes the topical route. The factors that determine the absorption of drugs also determines the bioavailability. Let us recall what were the factors that affect the absorption of the drugs. For example, the physicochemical properties of the drug, the nature and type of dosage forms, the concentration and the volume of drug, blood flow to the site of action, area of the absorbing surface, routes of administration, and disease states. These were the factors that affect the absorption of the drug along with the bioavailability of the drugs. Another term that is used frequently with bioavailability is bioequivalence. Two drugs are said to be bioequivalent when they show comparable bioavailability and similar times to reach the peak plasma concentrations. Bioequivalence is also said to exist when the bioavailability of a drug from different formulations is same. Now let us discuss the second determinant of absorption, and it is area under curve. First of all, let us define what is area under curve. It is defined as the total integrated area under the plasma drug concentration time curve from the first time drug concentration can be measured to the last time. Yeah, it means that from t is equal to 0 to t is equal to infinity. It is basically an pharmacokinetic parameter, and it is used to measure the extent of absorption, or in other words, it is used to determine the bioavailability of the drug. Area under curve is also represented by an equation, and this equation is basically the combination of or the multiplication of the concentration by time. It means the concentration of the drug present in the plasma at a particular time. So concentration in microgram per ml at a particular time in hours gives us the area under the curve. Let us now discuss that how area under curve can be calculated. This area under curve can be calculated using different methods. The most common method is by dividing the intercept with slope. The intercept is basically the y-intercept, and the slope is basically the rate constant. So if we apply our models, that is for one compartment model, the equation for area under curve will be B over beta, and in case of two compartment model, the equation for area under curve will be A over alpha plus B over beta, that it is the sum of these two uh, um, variables. So I am going to explain this in my next slide. Now I am going to discuss another point, that data is forced into a model. Now basically the method that we are discussing, it requires the data of the plasma drug concentration time curve is basically fitted into a model, or it is forced to fit into a model, and the models are one compartment or two compartment. We put our data, or we try to fit our data into these compartment models, and if somehow the model does not fit the data well, it means the pharmacokinetic parameters derived from the model do not accurately represent the data. So for this, an alternative method for calculating the area under curve is used, and this method is called as trapezoidal method, or trapezoidal rule, and it is basically a non-compartmental analysis technique. In this method, we divide the curve by using a series of vertical lines into a number of trapezoids, and then we calculate separately the area of each trapezoid, and then we add together the area of all the trapezoids. So the advantage of this trapezoidal method is that data is basically not forced to fit into a model, as I have discussed earlier. And this basically minimizes the error introduced uh, into it by manipulation, as in case of compartment models. So let us now discuss about the area under curve in case of one compartment model and two compartment model. Uh, Now we have defined area under curve, that it is calculated by dividing the y-intercept with the slope. Now this is the y-intercept and this is the slope, as we have discussed previously. The y-intercept is basically the point of the maximum concentration of a drug in the body. So whenever we extrapolate this curve towards y-axis, the point where it meets the y-axis is called the intercept. So here the intercept is B in case of one compartment open model, and when we divide this B, it means the intercept with the slope, and the slope here is beta, that is the elimination phase constant. So whenever we divide this intercept with this slope, we will obtain the area under the curve. It means that this is the area under the curve. And in case of two compartment model, in the equation we have seen that it is the sum of a over alpha and b over beta. Now this is again the beta phase, and when we extrapolate it towards y-axis, this is the B, that is the concentration, and we add it in it another phase, that is A over alpha. Now when we applied the method of residuals or the feathering technique, we obtained a concentration that is the A, and we if we recall it, we said that sum of A and B is basically the total concentration which is present inside the plasma. And talking about this A, when there is a decline, a steep decline in concentration, and we call it as distribution phase, this alpha is the constant that describes this distribution. So in case of two compartment open model, this is the area under the curve, and it is basically the sum of A over alpha plus B over. So let us now discuss about distribution, which is another pharmacokinetic parameter, and the determinant we are going to discuss is the volume of distribution. So let us first of all talk about what is this volume of distribution. It is defined as apparent or hypothetical volume of fluid which would be required to contain total amount of drug in the body. It is considered as if it was present throughout the body in the same concentration as that which is measured in the plasma. It may also be defined as the apparent volume of fluid into which the administered drug is distributed. So, an assumption is made that body behaves like a homogeneous compartment with respect to drug. The apparent volume of distribution is basically an important parameter, and it is important because it provides us again an estimate of the extent or measurement of distribution of the drug in the body. So talking about the equation, if we want to explain this volume of distribution, we will say that volume of distribution Vd, it is usually denoted as Vd, it is equal to the amount of drug present in the body divided by the plasma drug concentration inside the body. So, apparent volume of distribution for a drug may be determined by a number of methods. The dose D is again here the amount of drug in the body, and C here means the plasma drug concentration. Let us now discuss how to calculate volume of distribution. A very simple method is used which is called extrapolation method. It is a very simple method, but it is very less accurate. In this method, a known amount of drug is given by an intravenous route, and this route is selected because in this route 100% of the drug reaches the systemic circulation. So the maximum drug concentration is determined after the distribution equilibrium has been achieved and before the excretion is begun. And we can obtain it by extrapolating the linear terminal portion of the plasma drug concentration curve, that is basically the elimination phase, to the y-axis, and the point where this curve meets the y-axis is the zero concentration or C naught. So the equation that we have studied in the previous slide, or it is also written here in this equation, we will replace C with C naught, which means the concentration of the drug present at zero time interval. Uh, so there are two figures that are in front of you now. These are the similar that we have discussed earlier, and there is an equation on the upper left corner. In this equation, concentration is being replaced by B. It is replaced by B because here you can see the B. B is basically the point at which this elimination phase combines the y-intercept, or it is the zero intercept. So it is basically the concentration at the zero time interval. That's why we have replaced concentration C naught with B in this equation. Now the unit of volume is liter, and the amount of the drug which is present inside the body is usually calculated in terms of micrograms or milligrams or grams. And B is zero time intercept. So these are the units. Now let us calculate the units of volume of distribution. Now we usually use the term apparent volume of distribution, and because we use a volume of distribution as apparent volume of distribution, we can calculate the amount of drug needed to achieve a desired plasma concentration. And for that it is very common to divide the apparent volume of distribution with the weight of the human, so that the final units for the volume of distribution will be liter per kg. So we have discussed the extrapolation method for the calculation of volume of distribution. Uh, there are some discrepancies in this method. It basically neglects the distribution phase of drug disposition, and it is often suitable for calculating the volume of distribution of drugs that behave according to first order kinetics. For a drug that follow two compartment open model, extrapolation method basically gives an overestimate volume of distribution value. So for that purpose, area method is used. This area under curve method provides a more satisfactory way of calculating volume of distribution parameter. It describes the dispositional kinetics of a drug by useful and reliable method, and it can be applied to different compartment models for the estimation of VD. So, following the area under the curve method, if a drug is given by intravenous dose, volume of distribution will be equal to dose over area under curve dot beta, and for extravascular routes the volume of distribution is dose multiplied by f is bioavailability, divided by the area under curve into beta. So now let us discuss these different variables. Now Vd is the volume of distribution, its units are liter, and it is calculated by area under the curve method. Dose, it is the amount of the drug that is present in form of in milligrams or micrograms. This beta is the slope. It means it is the rate constant for the elimination phase. And f this f, it is the fraction of the absorbed drug in the systemic circulation. uh, in case of IV dose, this f is always equal to 1, so that's why we have not written it in this above equation, because f is equal to 1 and complete bioavailability is present. The value of volume of distribution basically serves as a proportionality constant relating to plasma concentration of the drug to the total amount of drug which is present in the body. Uh, for example, if we say that a drug has a large volume of distribution, it means that it is extensively distributed to different tissues, or it is extensively bind with tissues, or we can say that drug is widely distributed throughout the body. Usually lipid soluble drugs are widely distributed inside the body fluids and the tissues, and they have large volume of distributions which actually may exceed the original volume body, that is 1 liter per kg. So volume of distribution is always mentioned as apparent volume of distribution or hypothetical volume of distribution, because fluid volume greater than 1 liter per kg body weight never exists inside the body, whereas the water soluble drugs or ionized drugs, they tend to confined in the extracellular compartment, and therefore they have usually small volume of distribution, that is less than 0.2 liter per kg. So volume of distribution of drugs that are highly protein bound, for example, the drugs which are having binding capacity of greater than 80%, also tends to be small. It means they are reflecting that they are confined to the extracellular fluid only. So let us now discuss about the another pharmacokinetic parameter, elimination, and the determinant of this elimination is half-life. So let us first of all discuss the definition of half-life. It is the time taken for the concentration of drug in plasma to decline by one half or 50% of its initial value. It can also be defined as time required for the body to eliminate half of the drug. This value is usually determined during the elimination phase of a drug. That is why it is also called as elimination half-life. Occasionally, the term plasma half-life is used for the same purpose. The half-life is inversely proportional with the elimination rate constant. In simple words, it means that faster is the elimination, the shorter will be the half-life, and it is usually expressed in hours. Mathematically, it is calculated given by the this equation. Uh, Half-life is equal to, we represent half-life as t half, natural log of 2 over beta. Now, natural log of 2 gives us the value of 0.693, and beta is the slope of the plasma drug concentration time profile. Let us again have a explanation with this figure. Now this is the plasma concentration time curve, and it is decreasing. This is the elimination phase, and we have discussed then when we extrapolate it towards y-axis, we get the concentration at the 0 point C naught or B, that is 20. It means that at the time of administration of the drug, it is the maximum amount of the drug which is present in the plasma, and it is 20 microgram per ml as per this graph value, and half of this 20 is 10. So if we want to calculate half-life from this graph, it is very easy. This is the maximum concentration and half of it is 10. So this is the 10 microgram per ml point. We can draw a line from this point towards the slope of the curve, and then we will draw it towards the x-axis. The point where this line meets the x-axis is the half-life of that particular drug, because it is the time at which half of the maximum concentration was present inside the body. Similar is the case in this example. This is the maximum concentration, half of it is 10, and when we draw a line and meet this point with the curve and draw it towards the x-axis, we will reach a point that is 2, and it is the time. It means it is 2 hours. So in this case, the half-life is 2 hours, and in this case, the half-life is 1.25 hours. It means these are the times at which half of the concentration of the drug was present inside the body. Half-life is the widely used parameter, and it is closely related to the concentration of the drug at the site of action. It means that short half-life indicates a rapid elimination and therefore low concentration at the site of action. It is also one of the most useful parameters for determining the dosing interval. Additionally, it determines the time taken to achieve a steady state or equilibrium constant with any constant dosing rate. Half-life of majority of the drugs is independent of the dose administered. It is because their overall elimination usually follows first order kinetics. It means that a constant fraction of drug is processed per unit time, and in such cases a constant fraction which is processing only gives 5 half-lives to require for the complete elimination of the drug from the body. Whereas in case of zero order kinetics, a constant amount of drug is processed per unit time. The half-life of drug depends on the administered dose, and it becomes progressively larger as the dose is increased. So, so half-life of a drug is influenced by all factors that govern the elimination. And those factors include plasma protein binding, induction or inhibition of metabolizing enzymes, blood flow to the liver or kidney, disease states, drug interactions, efficiency of renal excretion. So, in general, drugs that are widely distributed and sequestered in tissues have a long half-life. Enterohepatic circulation and plasma protein binding also increases the half-life. In renal or hepatic dysfunctions, the half-life of a drug may increase depending upon the route of elimination.